No, I'm not taking you outside to go jump in puddles. We already did, and now he wants to go back out there. So how was everybody's week?
Hello?
Good, good.
Everybody's quiet. Let me see. Let me churn up some stuff. Phoenix, admit.
Hey,
Can you
girl.
hear? Can you hear Miss Rachel? The music in the background? No? It's Rachel. It's like the new thing where kids are obsessed with her.
Mhm.
Like a kids
Did I
thing.
do
Yeah.
it? Did I do it?
Yes.
That's right. Okay, let me think of a good one. Baby, baby, baby. Wishy washy, wishy washy, wishy washy. It's like this 24.
Hold on. I think that's what she's doing right now. Hold on. It just ended and he's
The babies love it, but
baby.
baby.
Like I'm like,
da, da, da,
I'm sitting there
da.
like, oh, it's a dinosaur. And I'm like, oh damn. She got me.
It's not as bad as Barney, but I mean, she does a really good job and she teaches and it's a good thing. But boy, woo.
Who did I say this to earlier? Crap, I was talking to somebody about it. I think my brother
Mhm.
actually. No, this is gonna sound really wrong. He said, do not judge me, guys. But I'm like, you know damn well she's probably in like full length, head to toe pleather, like with a bunch of guys pulling all four gags in their mouths, like with some like weird porcupine as a freaking ass companion to have to be like that all the time.
You know, mhm. I know, I just turned it off.
Oh, did you?
Uh-huh. Yep, my granddaughter and the baby and my other granddaughter, they're going to a school auction for art. So nope. Under the table.
Andre is having a hard time getting in.
Oh, he is.
I don't know. Tell him
That's the
to.
sign.
He might have to close it out. I'm surprised
gonna
this really
sign it.
in now because usually it takes him 570 million times. Okay, Trevor.
Under
Oh,
the
there's
table?
Andre. Let me see.
I don't know where you took him off.
Do not fall. Do not fall. Hi. Oh, come here. What's wrong?
There
Hey.
he is.
Hey, Bubbles.
Do you have new hair?
No, this is my actual natural hair, curly. No,
I thought you had like blonde hair. Blonde straight hair.
well, I would be the weirdest half Puerto Rican I ever met with natural blonde hair.
Wow.
Mhm.
Huh?
I don't know.
My
Maybe
hair's never been blonde.
no.
So you're saying I act like a blonde? Oh,
No.
okay.
I just
I'll
I
give
don't
it
know.
to you,
It's like
one.
I'm in an alternate dimension. I thought you were like you had blonde. Wait, I don't know. I don't know why I thought that.
How did I look blonde?
I don't know. Well, was your hair tied differently before?
Mhm.
Yeah, it wasn't down.
Oh, okay. So I just couldn't
I'm
tell.
gonna let that one go. I'm gonna let you roll with that. Yeah, see, yeah, that's definitely that's why.
Rice
Okay.
is subverted.
Mhm.
Right? That's what friends do.
Yeah,
Okay.
I just thought it was like some Mandela effect stuff happening.
Yeah.
Come here.
Tucker.
Almost fell. I got my niece's son, who has curly crazy hair. Hold on. So
Okay.
I need to grab before he goes, damn it, got it all up in a tangle. They're
Okay.
late. Hey, look at this. Look at this hair. Hold on.
Wow.
Tucker.
Hold on.
Winnie.
Oh, yeah. My son had hair like that when he was that age.
He gets
Yeah,
into
he's
everything.
cute.
Super smart, but I'm telling you, when this kid was born and I first met him, because obviously it was right, he's two, so it was right in the middle of COVID, and they waited about a month for everybody can meet him. Obviously, I think it was a good idea. And I'm like, this kid is communicating telepathically with me. I swear. Like I'm like, yeah, he's one of them.
Yeah, yeah.
He's so smart. He knows how to work everything. He's only being whiny now because I didn't take him back out to go play in the mud puddle, but he doesn't whine. He knows how to, he like picked up how to do things instantly. No. Yeah. All right, guy. No, he's doing light language, hand language, Amanda. Amanda, you're just doing this. I was just being a smart ass. Don't mind us. We're all friends outside of here. No, I'm kidding. We all are. All right, okay. 2 more people, and then we'll go ahead and let me see which one we do. Okay, living your life purpose, loving relationships. Here, cellular activation, clearing blockages, receiving guidance and answers, receiving extra energy. Let's do some receiving extra energy. That one's a little bit longer. It's 8 minutes. You guys down? Oh, let's not all talk at once. Maybe I'm in an alternate reality.
Let's do
Really?
it.
Shall we
What
meet?
is
Shall we
going
meet
on?
at some alternate
Shake it out.
reality coffee shop?
Everybody needs to like stand up and start shaking it or something. Do something. What's going on? All right.
We're
Okay,
wanting to
I'm
know
gonna.
which coffee shop in the alternate reality you want to meet at.
Dunkin' Donuts.
Boy, your choice. I'll follow you guys.
It's Desiree
Starbucks.
Donuts.
We'll get it, Turco.
Okay, can we start now? Yeah, all right, thank you. Okay. So this one, guys, is receiving extra energy. All right, let me share where I'm from. Sticky bubble gum. I'm gonna eat myself. All right. Maybe y'all can go ahead and mute yourselves. Thank you.
Receiving extra energy. Use this meditation whenever you would like to receive extra energy from your guide, your soul, Ornan Dabin, or from the enlightened ones, the masters, the angels and the beings of light who are always there to assist you. Know that all you need do is ask for assistance, and it will be there for you. Start by thinking of an area or situation you would like to shift or receive extra energy for. Be truthful with yourself and ask, am I really ready to have this situation change for the better? Have I learned everything I need to learn from it? Am I willing to grow through joy in this area of my life? Before you let go of this situation, take a moment to reflect on some of the growth it has brought you, some of the new insights, and ask that you continue to grow in a new and more joyful way in this area of your life. Begin by breathing in light. And as you breathe out, imagine that you are releasing this situation. As you breathe in light, Feel the radiance of your soul all around you, a radiant presence of light. You might even sense your soul as an angelic being, a great presence of light. Ask your soul to assist you in transforming this situation, to send you light right now. Open to receive your soul's light right now in this moment. And ask your soul to enhance within you whatever quality, such as courage, strength, vision, compassion, self-love, and whatever soul quality will assist you in transforming this situation. Feel this quality being strengthened within you right now. If you would like to receive energy from your guide, an enlightened one, a master, an angel, or an Ndabin, or any being of light you want to ask for, do this now. Ask for this being or these beings to join you now. These beings are going to transmit energy to you, to this situation. First, they are going to send a triple light to enhance all the light within you. Receive this light into your heart center, into your throat center, and into your head center at the top of your head. This brings you the energy to see more clearly through the eyes of love and to better know what actions to take to transform this situation. Open to this transmission right now. Imagine you are holding a symbol of this situation in your hands. Light from your soul, light from the beings of light, from all of the beings you have called to you. Their light is pouring into this situation, transforming it with light. New pathways are being formed. New potential is arising. New consciousness is being birthed within you. Many blessings and gifts are being sent to you, to this situation. See this situation changing and dissolving in the light. Open to receive one idea or more of something you can do right now to begin the process of transforming this situation, an action you can take, a new thought you can hold. Open to this now. And as you come back into the room, something has changed. Something will be better about this situation when you think of it. And I bid you my good day for now.
Session number 76, February 3rd, 1982. I am Ra. I greet you in the love and in the light of the one. Ra session number 77, February 10th, 1982. I am Ra. I greet you in the love and in the light of the one infinite creator. We communicate now. Questioner. Could you first please give me an indication of the condition of the instrument? I am Ra. It is as previously stated. Questioner. Was the instrument under attack just prior to this session? I am Ra. This is correct. Questioner. Is there anything that we could do to help protect the instrument from these attacks prior to the session? I am Ra. This is correct. Questioner. What could we do? I am Ra. Your group could refrain from continuing this contact. Questioner. Is that the only thing we could do? I am Ra. That is the only thing you could do which you are not already attempting with a whole heart. Questioner. I have 3 questions that the instrument asked me to ask that I'll get out of the way first. She wants to know if the preparation for her hospital experience could be improved for the next experience. I am Ra. All was done well, with one exception. The instrument was instructed to spend space-time contemplating itself as the creator. This, done in a more determined fashion, would be beneficial at times when the mind complex is weakened by severe assaults upon the distortions of the body complex towards pain. There is no necessity for negative thought forms, regardless of pain distortions. The elimination of such creates the lack of possibility for negative elementals and other negative entities to use these thought forms to create the worsening of the mind complex deviation from the normal distortions of cheerfulness/anxiety. Questioner. The instrument would also like to know if what we call tuning could be improved during times when we do not communicate with Ra. I am Ra. That which has been stated in regard to the latter question will suffice to point the way for the present query. Questioner. Finally, she wishes to know why several days ago her heart rate went up to 115 per minute, and then she had extreme pain in her stomach. Was that an Orion greeting? I am Ra. Although this experience was energized by the Orion group, the events mentioned, as well as others more serious, were proximally caused by the ingestion of certain foodstuffs in what you call your tablet form. Questioner. Can you tell me what these tablets were, specifically? I am Ra. We examine this query for the law of confusion and find ourselves close to the boundary, but acceptably so. The substance which caused the bodily reaction of the heartbeat was called pituitone by those which manufacture it. That which caused the difficulty which seemed to be cramping of the lower abdominal musculature, but was in fact more organic in nature, was a substance called spleentone. This instrument has a physical body complex of complicated balances which afford it physical existence. Were the view taken that certain functions and chemicals found in the healthy, as you call it, body complex are lacking in this one, and therefore simply must be replenished, the intake of the many substances which this instrument began would be appropriate. However, this particular physical vehicle has, for approximately 25 of your years, been vital due to the spirit, the mind, and the will being harmoniously dedicated to fulfilling the service it chose to offer. Therefore, physical healing techniques are inappropriate, whereas mental and spiritual healing techniques are beneficial. Questioner: is there any technique which we could do that we have not been doing that would be beneficial for the instrument in this case? I am Ra. We might suggest, without facetiousness, 2. Firstly, let the instrument remove the possibility of further ingestion of this group of foodstuffs. Secondly, each of the group may become aware of the will to a greater extent. We cannot instruct upon this, but merely indicate, as we have previously, that it is a vital key to the evolution of the mind-body-spirit complex. Questioner: thank you. I would like to go back to the plan of this logos for its creation and examine the philosophical basis that is the foundation for what was created in this local creation and the philosophy of the plan for experience. I'm assuming that I am correct in stating that the foundation for this, as we have stated many times before, is the first distortion. After that, what was the plan in a philosophical sense? I am Ra. We cannot reply due to a needed portion of your query which has been omitted. That is, do we speak of this particular logos? Questioner: that is correct. I'm asking with respect to this particular logos, our sun, in creating the experience of its planetary system. I am Ra. This query has substance. We shall begin by turning to an observation of a series of concept complexes of which you are familiar as the tarot. The philosophy was to create a foundation, first of mind, then of body, and then of spiritual complex. Those concept complexes you call the tarot lie then in 3 groups of 7. The mind cycle, 1 through 7. The physical complex cycle, 8 through 14. The spiritual complex cycle, 15 through 21. The last concept complex may best be termed the choice. Upon the foundation of transformation of each complex, with free will guided by the root concepts offered in these cycles, the logos offered this density, the basic architecture of a building and constructing and synthesizing of data, culminating in the choice. Questioner: then for me to condense your statement, I see it meaning that there are 7 basic philosophical foundations for mental experience, 7 for bodily, 7 for spiritual, and that these produce the polarization that we experience sometime during the 3rd density cycle. This may be very poorly stated on my part. Am I close to correct? I am Ra. You are correct in that you perceive the content of our prior statement with accuracy. You are incorrect in that you have no mention of the, shall we say, location of all of these concept complexes. That is, they exist within the roots of the mind, and it is from this resource that their guiding influence and leitmotifs may be traced. You may further note that each foundation is itself not single, but a complex of concepts. Furthermore, there are relationships betwixt mind, body, and spirit of the same location in octave. For instance, 1, 8, 15, and relationships within each octave, which are helpful in the pursuit of the choice by the mind-body-spirit complex. The logos under which these foundations stand is one of free will. Thusly, the foundations may be seen to have unique facets and relationships for each mind-body-spirit complex. Only 22, the choice, is relatively fixed and single. Editor's note: the word leitmotif in the previous passage can be defined as an element that is frequently repeated in a work and often serves as a guiding or central element within the work. Questioner: I am probably having a problem with the concept of time, since it appears that the logos was aware of the polarization choice. It seems that this choice for polarization at the end of 3rd density is an important philosophical plan for the experience past 3rd density. Am I correct in assuming that this process is a process to create the proper or the desired experience that will take place in the creation after 3rd density is complete? I am Ra. These philosophical foundations are those of 3rd density. Above this density, there remains the recognition of the architecture of the logos, but without the veils which are so integral a part of the process of making the choice in 3rd density. Questioner: the specific question that I had was that it seems to me that the choice was planned to create intense polarization past 3rd density, so that experience would be intense past 3rd density. Is this correct? I am Ra. Given that our interpretation of your sound vibration complexes is appropriate, this is incorrect. The intensity of fourth density is that of the refining of the rough-hewn sculpture. This is, indeed, in its own way, quite intense, causing the mind-body-spirit complex to move ever inward and onward on its quest for fuller expression. However, in third density, the statue is forged in the fire. This is a type of intensity which is not the property of fourth, fifth, sixth, or seventh densities. Questioner: what I'm really attempting to understand, since all of these 21 philosophical bases result in the 22nd, which is the choice, is why this choice is so important. Why the Logos, it seems, puts so much emphasis on this choice, and what function that choice of polarity has, precisely, in the evolution or the experience of that which is created by the Logos. I am Ra. The polarization, or choosing, of each mind, body, spirit is necessary for harvestability from third density. The higher densities do their work due to the polarity gained in this choice. Questioner: now, would it be possible for this work of our density to be performed if all of the sublogoi chose the same polarity in any particular expression or evolution of a Logos? Let us make the assumption that our Sun created nothing but, through the first distortion, positive polarity. Would work then be done in fourth density and higher as a function only of this positive polarization evolving from the original creation of our sublogos? I am Ra. Elements of this query illustrate the reason I was unable to answer your previous question without knowledge of the Logos involved. To turn to your question, there were logoi which chose to set the plan for the activation of mind, body, spirit complexes through each true color body without recourse to the prior application of free will. It is, to our knowledge, only in an absence of free will that the conditions of which you speak obtain. In such a procession of densities, you find an extraordinarily long, as you measure time, third density. Likewise, fourth density. Then, as the entities begin to see the Creator, there is a very rapid, as you measure time, procession towards the eighth density. This is due to the fact that one who knows not, cares not. Let us illustrate by observing the relative harmony and unchanging quality of existence in one of your, as you call it, primitive tribes. The entities have the concepts of lawful and taboo, but the law is inexorable and all events occur as predestined. There is no concept of right and wrong, good or bad. It is a culture in monochrome. In this context, you may see the one you call Lucifer as the true light bringer, in that the knowledge of good and evil both precipitated the mind-body spirits of this Logos from the Edenic conditions of constant contentment, but also provided the impetus to move, to work, and to learn. Those logoi, whose creations have been set up without free will, have not, in the feeling of those logoi, given the Creator the quality and variety of experience of itself, as have those logoi which have incorporated free will as paramount. Thusly, you find those logoi moving through the timeless states at what you would see as a later space-time, to choose the free will character when elucidating the foundations of each Logos. Questioner: I guess, under the first distortion, it was the free will of the Logos to choose to evolve without free will. Is this correct? I am Ra. This is correct. Questioner: do the logoi that choose this type of evolution choose both the service to self and the service to others path for different logoi, or do they choose just one of the paths? I am Ra. Those, what you would call, early logoi, which chose lack of free will foundations, to all extents, with no exceptions, founded logoi of the service to others path. The, shall we say, saga of polarity, its consequences and limits were unimagined until experienced. Questioner: in other words, you are saying that originally the logoi that did not choose this free will path did not choose it simply because they had not conceived of it, and later logoi, extending the first distortion farther down through their evolution, experienced it as an outcropping or growth from that extension of the first distortion. Am I correct in saying that? I am Ra. Yes. Questioner: then did this particular Logos that we experience plan for this polarity and know all about it prior to its plan? That, I suspect, is what happened. I am Ra. This is quite correct. Questioner. In that case, you would have, as a logos, the advantage of selecting the form of acceleration, I might say, of spiritual evolution by planning for what we call the major archetypical philosophical foundation and planning these as a function of the polarity that would be gained in third density. Is this correct? I am Ra. This is exquisitely correct. Questioner. In that case, it seems that a thorough knowledge of the precise nature of these philosophical foundations would be of primary importance to the study of evolution of mind, body, and spirit. And I would like to carefully go through each of the basic 21, starting with the mind, if this is agreeable with Ra. I am Ra. This is agreeable with two requests which must be made. Firstly, that an attempt be made to state the student's grasp of each archetype. We may then comment. We cannot teach learn to the extent of learn teaching. Secondly, we request that it be constantly kept before the mind, as the candle before the eye, that each mind, body, spirit complex shall, and should, and indeed must, perceive each archetype, if you use this convenient term, in its own way. Therefore, you may see that precision is not the goal. Rather, quality of general concept complex perception is the goal. Questioner. Now, there are several general concepts that I would like to be sure that we have clear before going into this process, and I will certainly adhere to the requests that you have just stated. When our Logos designed this particular evolution of experience, it decided to use a system of which we spoke, allowing for polarization through total free will. How is this different from the Logos that does not do this? I see the Logos creating the possibility of increase in vibration through the densities. How are the densities provided for and set up by the Logos, if you can answer this? I am Ra. This shall be the last full query of this working. The psychic attack upon this instrument has, shall we say, left scars which must be tended, in our own opinion, in order to maintain the instrument. Let us observe your second density. Many come more rapidly to third density than others, not because of an innate efficiency of catalysis, but because of unusual opportunities for investment. In just such a way, those of fourth density may invest third. Those of fifth density may invest fourth. When fifth density has been obtained, the process takes upon itself a momentum based upon the characteristics of wisdom when applied to circumstance. The Logos itself, then, in these instances, provides investment opportunities if you wish to use that term. May we inquire if there are any brief queries at this space-time? Questioner. Is there anything that we can do after this contact to increase the instrument's comfort as related to the psychic attack? Or is there anything we can do to make the instrument more comfortable and to improve the contact in this present situation? I am Ra. The faculties of healing, which each has commenced energizing, may be used. The entity may be encouraged to remain motionless for a period. As it will not appreciate this, we suggest the proper discussion. The physical appurtenance called the sensor was just a degree off, this having no deeper meaning. We do ask, for reasons having to do with the physical comfort of the instrument, that you continue in your careful efforts at alignment. You are conscientious. All is well. We leave you, my friends, in the glorious love and light of the one Creator. Go forth, therefore, rejoicing in the power and in the peace of the one infinite Creator. I am Ra. Adonai.
Awesome. So greetings in the love and in the light of the one infinite Creator. And may we all forgive, love, and be kind to one another. And may we all open our hearts and let God flow through us in our conversation today, so that we are gentle and kind as we discuss this Law of One session or anything else that's relevant. Desiree? You're muted.
He must be in a different dimension. Look at Ed.
Look at Ed.
Look at Ed.
Look at Ed. Where's Ed?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh,
He
Ed.
shaved his beard.
Ed is all
Holy
different, too.
mackerel.
It's not just Desiree today. What happened?
Yeah, I
Ed?
shaved.
Are you feeling okay, Ed?
Oh my
Thanks.
gosh. Were you
He's
abducted?
feeling about 2
Hello,
pounds lighter.
everybody. Look at my new face.
Oh my gosh. Were you abducted by the what do you call it? MK Ultra?
No. Those guys are my homies anyway. No, basically, I've grown my beard for quite some time. Since me and my wife split up, to kind of hide my face from the world, in some weird, and basically, it's been a very long time since I've seen my own face. So I just thought, hey, chop it all off and see what's happened in the past few years. To be fair, I think I feel like I've regressed. I feel like I look younger than I did before I had the beard 5 years ago. So, yay, beards rule.
Awesome, Ed. You know what I do? When I shave my beard off or cut my, I throw it out the back door so the birds have nesting material.
Wow, that's awesome, dude. I wish I'd thought of doing something cool with my hair. Oh, now I feel like I've wasted it all.
The barbershop does the same
Oh,
thing.
no. I at least should have made like a little kind of like wig for my cat or something. Oh, wasted opportunity.
Now
Anyway,
you can
yes,
prepare for the
welcome to the
future.
new face of Ed. I don't think it'll be here for very long, to be fair. I feel a bit kind of like vulnerable without it. So it may well grow back pretty fast. It grows super fast anyway. Look, I mean, look, this is not 3 days growth. This is like a week for anybody.
Yeah. This is a week right here. I shaved a week ago.
Yeah. It grows quick. So at least I won't have to put up with my own face for long. Anyway, love you guys. Love and light. Everyone's amazing. So there was a bit of a mix up with the time. So is it going to be starting this time every week now? Or because
Until April. Desiree will clarify.
Yeah, sorry. Somebody, yeah, sorry.
Zan tells me that your time has moved and that we should go back. Pretty much.
Not yet. I don't think that it moves till next.
We're gonna keep it at this until whenever that is.
Yeah, that's absolutely cool. I was just confused. I was like, oh no, it's from now. I'm missing it. Running panic. But I made it.
Because wouldn't that have given you like an extra, like even have to say, when you have had to, gosh, let me learn to speak, stay up an extra hour?
Yeah, no, I have to say this is way better. It's way earlier. Yeah, I just wasn't expecting it. So I was all ready to stay up to 1 and it's happened now. Anyway, all good. Everything's awesome. Love you guys.
You too.
Anyway,
here.
Back to the session.
You.
Desiree, surely you've got loads to talk about with this one, it being all tarot based and stuff.
I don't have nothing to talk about. I'll bring it up when I'm ready, Ed.
All right. Does anyone have any questions?
I really don't. I like to hear everybody else's opinions and thoughts on it. And plus, I'm chasing after this little one. So I'm like, I have no problem listening.
Can I say something?
Go ahead.
Desiree, do I have permission to talk about what we were talking, something that happened earlier? I know. Pardon?
Go right ahead.
Oh, okay. It's so funny that we're on 77 and they were talking about psychic attack or whatever. I don't know if you, Desiree and I were talking earlier on the Facebook chat, and she was showing me she was screen sharing something with me on this the Tree of Life Tarot, whatever you called it. I can't remember what you called it, but she was sharing that with me. I'm sitting at my kitchen table. I have my glasses off. I'm looking at my phone very intently, and I'm very interested in what she was sharing, and I was actually understanding probably 45% of what she was saying. So that's pretty good for me. And then all of a sudden, all hell broke loose underneath my feet. My 2 dogs got in a huge ass fight. The ones, I don't know, I might have to take them to a vet tomorrow. They got into a huge ass fight. I had to cut the phone call off, and it took me a few minutes to get things straightened out, but everything's okay. But it's just funny because I think that, I don't know, Do you think that's what happened? Because I still want to hear what you have to say. I don't give a fuck what dogs are fighting. I threw one outside and I separated them, but I also had something to add with one thing that they were sharing with the tarot, with the division of the chakra centers. Is everybody okay with that?
Go ahead.
No.
I know, right? So I know my work experience is different than probably a lot of people's. So this is what I understand from what Ra explained with the chakra centers is how things are formed, because the question or the idea was presented that fourth density is going to be easier than third density for us because, we're going through all this shit right now and this illusion with the veil all the way down. So while I was listening to the reading, and for all of you know, I've only heard through the reading once. Everything I'm hearing from you guys from these meetings is the second time for me hearing the raw contact material. So I'm a baby here. I'm an infant, but my experience has been a lot with metalworking in my life. So this is what I understand. If you divide it up in the chakra centers according to metalworking terms, number 1 is creation. That's when everything would be made. Density 2 would be formation or separation, when the land and the earth and everything and all the materials are actually being created. We're in 3. That's shaping. That's would be when the mold, when the metal is heated up, melted, and because everything has already been separated, that's when the metal or glass or whatever would be poured into a mold. Number 4 would be forging. I don't know if anyone's ever experienced or seen forging. Probably Ed would probably understand more intimately than most of us, but you heat the metal up and beat the living hell out of it.
Just to say, we're the forging. Yeah, Ra even said about it. He said right now, we're forged in the fire. That's what third density is. Right, fourth density is more like the refining of the sculpture. That's even how he said it. It's more taking the file to it and correcting it to make it look perfect rather than this rough drop forged thing that we are.
Well, if you go by, I'm not saying this is 100% true. I'm asking opinions. So
no, that's what I'm saying. I agree with your analogy. I'm just trying to give it more context.
If you break it down by actually process, like now, I'm looking at this through very restricted processing, meaning that I'm only seeing third density. I'm basing it off of what my experience has been. So if you would call 4 density forging, 5th density would be roughing out, when you're grinding off the big chunks of stuff it's rough, that needs roughed off from the forging process. Then you have number 6 being polishing. And if you've ever polished anything, you're going through multiple grits of polishing down to where you then at the 7th density start buffing, or in some cases, if you already have something formed, it's called stropping, where you make the razor sharp edge if you're making a knife or a sword. So it's almost like that's a unique way of describing it. There's a million different ways to describe it, but it just depends on who you are and what you know and what your experiences in life is, how you understand it best. And to me, that makes good sense to me. You could swap 3 and 4 forging and shaping or whatever around however you want, but I don't know. I don't think that number 4 density, the next density, is going to be any easier than 3. I think they're both going to be kind of hard. 3 obviously is going to be kind of hard. I think we're kind of maybe fooling ourselves to thinking that this is going to get easier. It's going to get harder, but harder in a different way, probably in a way we're not even thinking. And that's all I have to say. So take it, Desiree.
He's talking about the human design, by the way, guys. And if any of you, most of you that talk to me one-on-one, probably got it done from me. Probably received it from me anyways. But when he was talking about the Kabbalah and stuff being part of it, no, get over here.
I
Sorry.
just wanted to add some clarifying points based, at least on my understanding of the Yellow Archives, is what they say is that
Go get your pajamas.
the fourth density is more harmonious, and so you could certainly say it is oh my gosh, Desiree. Anyways, easier in that sense. But it just takes a lot longer because you don't have as much catalyst to work through. Like the most amount of catalyst that you'll ever have to deal with is in third density. It is the closest to like, if you were to rate any densities on like hell to heaven scale, then third density would be the closest to hell, because it's just so unpredictable. And then the other densities are easier because they're more predictable. Because in fourth density negative, you're surrounded by other service to self people. Everyone is just looking out for themselves. And in service to others, you're surrounded by people who forgive and love you unconditionally and just want to help you. So, okay, all right. Anyone have anything they wanted to say or add? Or?
I kind of have to wonder if on a service to self path, third density isn't looked at more as a crucible, refining the finer metals, letting them rise to the top, and setting apart the cream of the crop from the rest of us who are just average shitty metal, right?
Yeah, I think it's for both. It's for both. It's like that because the vast majority of people are in the sinkhole of indifference, and they neither do things for others exclusively or for themselves, and so they're mostly just doing what they're told, and they can continue to repeat the cycle until they learn how to, instead of just doing what they're told, on using their heart to decide. If they have a closed heart, then they would only do something that they're told if it benefits them directly, and if they have an open heart, they would only do it if they felt it was the compassionate and the right thing to do. Amanda?
So when they're talking about the beings or people, I call people, I don't care. They did not choose free will. So they were not motivated to progress. Is that how? Okay. So the people in free will are motivated. I mean, they can, they kind of fumble around and move on and do something good and move on. And so actually we're kind of better off. We're learning more. Is that what they're saying?
Yeah, that is
Okay.
what they transcribe in the text is that basically before they had the choice, the only choice you could make was to be service to others. And so it was either that or continuing in the sinkhole of indifference. And so a lot of people would just continue in the sinkhole of indifference for hundreds of millions of years, and then eventually they'd choose service to others. But since there was really like nothing bad that could ever happen, they just didn't care. And then they just continued through the other densities like very quickly. Whereas here it's kind of the other way around, where the third density is very brief, but there's both good and evil. And so if you are tired of bad people doing things to you, and you want to just be surrounded by good people, then you polarize service to others, and then you get to incarnate in a service to others world. And you also, while you're in fourth density, you have the the entertainment of dealing with helping other people defend against service to self entities or combating them or whatever, that kind of stuff. So there's more entertainment in that respect.
Andre, wouldn't since we're in a unique position, I've heard this mentioned more than once in the raw contact material, where they explain that since Earth has been the recipient of multiple different reincarnative cultures, the I guess from what I understand, the American Indian people are from a certain planet that was destroyed from environmental reasons. The people from Maldek are here too, and also other places all throughout our immediate galaxy. Earth is kind of a melting pot or a hodgepodge of different entities trying to advance themselves in third density. And that also makes it a little bit extra hard for us here because it adds another element that other places like the people in Venus didn't have to experience. Is that correct?
There could certainly be an element of that. But my understanding is that that is kind of has become the status quo on a lot of planets now, whenever they have a large enough population to support it, just because is third density is so brief and the amount of people that haven't graduated is so large that there's like a long waiting list. Wherever there is a third density, people want to get in there and then polarize one way or the other.
So it's a bottleneck.
Yeah, it's kind of like a bottleneck. It's like you have like this brief life, and then to make the choice, and if you don't, you might have to wait like 75,000, 100,000 years to have another opportunity to incarnate when a planet comes up that has incarnational space for you.
And we complain about waiting at red lights.
Right. Robert?
Yeah, can you hear me all right?
You're kind of quiet.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I've read it many times on the channeling transcripts where they mention there are many, many, many voices out in the universe. There's just so many entities out there. That's that bottleneck you described. There's so many entities that wish they could experience this third density. They just can't fit enough on this planet, So we are fortunate to be here, whether we would like to think of it that way or not. It's a blessing that we have a hard time seeing while we're here, that's for sure. But it seems like a lot of the discarnate, the ones that are not incarnated, it seems like a lot of them are envious is the word, but it's not truly envy. They kind of envy us for being here. They wouldn't mind being able to do it themselves, but only so many can be here at a given time.
Yeah, and it has to do with what you attract as well. Like I've read there's at least 12 spiritual disincarnate entities for every person, or 12 angels. And then there's also neutral entities and service to self entities. And based on whatever you attract, so if you're like praying to God and being grateful for life, then you're attracting angels, and then you're going to be surrounded by angels. And then if you're like doing a bunch of negative stuff, you'll be surrounded by negative entities. And if you're doing neutral stuff, then you'll be surrounded by neutral entities in your mind sphere. Mitch?
So the whole concept of there being kind of a wait list and all that, and everybody's kind of looking forward to getting back into this, kind of gets lost on me when you stop and think about the nature of time, space, and space time. When we're in the in between, 1,000 years, 100,000 years, a million years, it can be traversed like that, the same way we could walk to the store. Or, I don't recall Ra or any other channeling I've ever stumbled across really going into concepts of multiverses and all that good stuff. But assuming there's any validity to concepts like that, there can be an infinite number of me's. And I would imagine, therefore, that it wouldn't be just this soul occupying this experience for eternity. I would imagine other souls would get the opportunity to experience Andre and Desiree and Robert and Fred and Ed, and, so I kind of get lost in this concept of limited space, because it doesn't seem like there would be limited space.
Can I mention something here, though?
Please do.
What I think happens in some aspect, I don't know how, I can't say I've never been there, but I can't remember being there. When we're disincarnate, we have a much better understanding with our higher self and our other selves of this all being one. So when we do this and we come down to this third density area, it's just what part of the one is it going to be this time? There really, at that time, probably is no Mitch and Ed and Fred and Robert and Desiree and Amanda, and there is none of that. It's all much more, at least more closely to, we understand that, okay, we're all one anyway, so we're just doing this to understand our one self. Let's do this time. I think it comes more down to that than us trying to fight and get into a spot to advance. I think that fighting to get into a spot to advance is our one self saying, let's see what we can do here, because this is coming up.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think. Well, I wouldn't say fight. I think the LL Archives calls
I
it
didn't mean to say fight. I'm sorry. That's a
selection
negative
by
term.
seniority of
Vie
vibration.
for.
Yeah. But Mitch, you are correct in some senses that, yeah, like, at least in theory, we live in like this infinite universe and things like that. But it seems that at least on some level, it's also finite. Like Ra was hanging out on Venus for 1 billion years, waiting for kind of something to happen in the solar system before we came along and attracted them to come over to Earth. And I mean, they were like telepathically helping like people in Zeta Reticuli and stuff like in the meantime, but not a whole lot of stuff was happening. And like Hitler, for instance, and Aleister Crowley, who polarized neutral, are currently in healing. And you're correct in that, like, 100,000 years doesn't pass in the same way that it does here. But it does from our perspective, but maybe from their perspective, it's not as meaningful. Robert?
Testing my microphone. How does this sound?
So
That's
much
Sounds
better.
good to me.
Much better.
So much better. Okay, yes, it's a different setting. Good to know. Thank you. I want to comment too, though. We're in a chemical body in this third density, and it's part of space time. So time moves slowly, and when we reach a more light body, like those of Ra and others, they're in more of a time-space situation. So, 1 billion years can go by, but it just didn't feel like 1 billion years to them. It's just, to us, 1 billion years would be just inexorably painful. But to them, it's like, yeah, whatever, 1 billion years, we didn't notice.
That's why I think if you look at the Genesis account of creation, they really didn't have the terminology, the differentiation that we do now in English to say whatever time to whatever time to whatever time. So they just, I think they just divide it up by saying days. And it does say days, not day. On the days, if you look at the text originally. So I think they did that on purpose because there was really no way for them to say, just like if somebody from 2,000 years ago saw us standing here with one of our phones, how would they describe it? They don't have terminology to describe it. So if they didn't have the terms to describe it then, they did it the best they could.
Oh, hey guys, looks like the Raw phones made it to the year 2023. This is awesome.
Yep.
Ed?
Okay, so the way I view this, the time, space time thing, is like there seems to be like a clear separation between the two. Yeah, and I think this kind of plays in a lot with the whole multiverse thing and the multi-dimensional thing quite well as well. Because the way I view it is it's like a crystal. Like, you know, I think that there's a point in it that Ra describes it in. I can't fully remember how he says it, but it's from lots of different people's perspectives. And when you think of time space, yeah, then essentially you're looking at the crystal as a solid thing, as everything is in its place. It doesn't move. There's no motion to it. There's no progress, and there's no anything. It's more like a mass set of quantum probabilities in a crystal, and only by, you know, becoming third density and incarnating can consciousness actually experience the realization of that quantum crystal into the universe, and thereby spirit really interacting and in it, like being seeing itself. Does that make sense? Like, it's so weird when everyone else is muted, because like I don't know how anyone else is reacting. It's just strange. Do you get what I mean, though?
Yeah,
Please, someone give me some reassurance.
I don't know.
Yes,
I'm confused.
it is strange. I totally.
Confused. I'm a little.
But you get what I mean, okay? So when you're inside the crystal, yeah, then space time is occurring. You are part of the linear flow of the progression of these quantum probabilities being manifested into the crystal realization of what the universe is. Yeah, and that multi-dimensional, every single probability that you can think of. When you come into third density and you're forged in this fire to make that choice, yeah, you are making the choices that create the crystalline path that the universe takes. And that's the point of consciousness in third density. Yeah, us being creators is a very real sense. Yeah, how we live our lives and what we experience is the thing that formulates the quantum probability crystal of time space into the actual realization of probabilities and understanding itself, consciousness being able to, you know, understand the crystal. You can only do that from inside. From outside, you're only ever looking at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so and you can't affect it, you can't change it. All you can do is try to theorize of how to manipulate it from the inside when you go back in. Yeah. So time becomes irrelevant, because essentially you're just standing there staring at the crystal until you go back in again. And when you go back in, time really starts to matter when you're inside the crystal. Other than that, right, space time is like picking a specific coordinate that you then place yourself into to affect those changes in the crystal, which is, you know, the crystallization of us, like all the other stuff. I'm sorry. I'm sorry if I'm going on.
No, I want you to.
No. But do you get where I'm going with it? It takes the space-time and the time-space thing to show why it all matters. It's not just an ego thing that our little self is trying to get ascension to whatever. No, third density is an opportunity to crystalline reality using your free will. Anyway, yeah. Sorry. Feel free to say stuff, Andre, man. Like,
Ed,
I can't get out the chat window. So
okay. Yeah, for Fred.
So basically, from my understand what you're trying to explain, you made me something click in my mind here. So basically, what we have to understand is that space-time, which is our space-time that we imagine and think of and cognitively or spiritually recognize certain things, actually creates our space-time. Time-space creates our space-time so that we can experience space-time, so that we can then again in time-space look at that and go, okay, let's do it this way now. Let's do it that way now. Let's change this. and experience different things. So
Mhm.
us sitting here and thinking this is it, physical reality is, that this creates our mind, our thoughts, is actually backwards, and time space is what's creating space time and not the other way around. Am I correct in what you're trying to explain?
Okay, so back to Hermetics and the whole kind of, Kabbalah, one of the first rule of, the Hermetic principles is all is mind. Everything is just a vibration of God's thought. Everything. So the crystal that's slowly being formed, that is reality, that is space-time flowing from one place to its final place, which is all oneness of everything. Yeah, that experience has to be experienced in order for it to be crystalline into something that has happened, that is real, that has been experienced. Yeah. And now, if you're outside of the experience, if you're not
engaged,
incarnated, yeah, then you're outside of
observing
the crystal. You're outside of matter and the progress of the universe. All of that stops. Yeah, but it doesn't stop as in it's frozen. It stops as in the whole entire of the universe is this crystal that you can then access any specific part of all of it, because we're all one, right? We're all just these vibrations of God's consciousness, and everything is created from that. The other thing Ra was talking about that relates to the Hermetics thing is how the Logos uses the tarot principles and and the Hermetic tree of life to build this reality, this version of third density. And that's why it's important. Yeah. All of these things here essentially are these archetypal building blocks that it used to create our third density experience. Yeah, and it doesn't matter what planet you've incarnated on previously. It doesn't, because none of that matters, because all of the planets and all of the incarnations, they're all just vibrating. Now, coming here with Hermetics and the tarot is our way of experiencing and crystallizing this part of the universe for our experience, and our Logos, the sun, the beautiful thing that it is, giving its service, like what I was talking about. It made free will so that we could go through these things. And I always think of the Akashic records. People have put it at the bottom there. I always think of the Akashic records as the infinite intelligence. And if you think about like breaking down the infinite intelligence into smaller units, like the Zhang thing of the group consciousness, like, right, all of that. I think that kind of record of keeping all of our experience in consciousness once again is the Akashic record is that same thing. It's that same thing of everything is mind.
Yeah.
Every experience in the universe is recorded in some way in this crystalline progression of space-time, including every thought. Anyway, yeah, sorry, I've been chatting for ages. I hate
Okay,
please just interrupt me,
was
guys. Don't let
thinking-
me keep talking like this. I'm embarrassed.
No, don't be.
I'm gonna mute myself. I'm gonna mute myself and listen. Like,
We're
I
making
hate
it
my
up
voice.
as we go along, and we're recording it.
Yeah. So I wanted
I
to
know.
integrate some of the ideas I've heard, like Fred was mentioning about how when we're disincarnate, we realize that we're all one. And that's what actually makes spiritual progress very difficult when you're in a disincarnate state, because you're aware of the fact that we're all one, so you wouldn't even think to do something harmful or service to self or whatever, because you realize like the jig is up. So in third density, when we have the heavy veil, it's a lot easier to make progress, since you don't have access to that. And Ed's description, I think, with the whole like crystal and time space, that was a very good, I think, description of what I've read from fifth density or higher. So you know how like knowledge is only possible at fifth density, and I think that's exactly why, because you need to be able to like in fifth density, you're like a ball of light, and you can go into time space, and then you, without being an observer or interacting with the system, you can observe it. Whereas in third density, as soon as you start observing a system, you are modifying it through your observation based on the thoughts that you have, the you know, expectations that you have, and all that thing. That's why we can't know anything because we're creating it. We're in the process of making everything, and then we are part of the play, if you will. And only at fifth density and higher can you be a true audience member without modifying the play.
So Andre, let me ask you this then. So basically what you're saying is the disincarnate self picks the flavor of the mind in the body that the spirit is going to inhabit or try to inhabit, or at least the starting point of it. And through that flavor is how we attempt to adjust and change and incorporate into third density, where, and then at the end of that flavoring comes back to disincarnate self, where you go, oh, okay, this is the karma I got or didn't got, or relieved or didn't relieve. Let's do this differently. And then also thinking of it.
Dude, can I jump in? Is that
Yeah.
okay? Yeah, okay, right. So we're exactly with what you're saying, yeah? So this whole kind of picking your body before you go in, and the body that you come out with, you know, and right, there's actual scientific evidence of this. I read this incredible paper a while ago that's about a guy that studies what's called, it's bio okay, right. It's basically, he studies like quantum embryology. He studies like what happens in the electrical bioelectric field that happens inside embryos. Right now, when you look at this, he can take embryos of animals and he can basically squish up the cells right at the beginning. Yeah, now the cells have got no way of knowing what cells they're supposed to be at that point, but they will reorganize into the animal because of the fact our cells organized around a bioelectric template. We're finding scientific evidence now, yeah, that the way that the cells form into an embryo from every single step onwards is actually defined by a template that exists as a quantum bioelectric resonance. Yeah, now that field that already exists inside the egg, when because it takes a team of sperm to activate an egg anyway. The process, the things they're finding now at this kind of quantum level of how embryology works, fits in with this idea that there is something there already, and your cells and your physical body organizes around that. Yeah, and you can mash it all up. It will go back to that because that's what you're supposed to be. Yeah, right. And you can the main beauty of this is it doesn't rely on the DNA. Yeah, they can actually put on DNA from completely different animals, put it into position, change this bioelectric field, and it will grow with the taxonomy of the field that you produce, not the DNA. So that means that all of the things that we think about, how the one step of DNA leads to the next step of DNA, to these, that is not how it works. And you can completely mess with that system, and you will reorganize into the being that you're supposed to be because of that template that it was in the first place. Right now, this is all just a super fucking cutting edge. Right. Like literally, this guy didn't even start making papers till 18. So this is like, but it's anyway. Sorry, going on again. Oh, shut up, Ed.
Okay, Ed. All right. First of all, during the first silence, it was because I was pulling up the BOTA stuff. So the introduction to and then the fundamentals of tarot, I put them in a folder on my drive. Now, you cannot take these and do anything, whatever you want with them. They're just for you. If anybody wants to be added to it, to check it out. Putting that out there. If so, send me your email. But yeah, that's the only reason I was being quiet anyways, because I was over here trying to. And stop apologizing, damn it.
Okay.
If you didn't talk, then half of us wouldn't.
So I wanted to integrate both what Fred and Ed said. So what Fred was referring to, from what I understood, was basically that we have an incarnation, and then we in a disincarnate state, we review what lessons we have learned, and then what lessons we have yet to learn, and then we make a template for our next life that will hopefully help us learn those lessons that we have come to learn. And to integrate that with what Ed has said, we can actually bring, based on our pre-incarnative choices, as they would say in the Law of One, we can change the electromagnetic field of the soul, or set it in a certain way that it will actually modify the fetal DNA to be different from that of the mother and the father, to have the attributes that the soul wants for that incarnation. Yeah.
So, Andre,
and just as importantly, the soul can find the perfect match of DNA to have all of the components that you need anyway. But once it steps in there, all of the kind of the I like to think of it as the pre-built distortions that you are born with in the physical form. They're all programmed in there at the beginning. And like we said, that all comes from the choices that you've made while disincarnated, of how best to live in the next incarnation. The point is, the blueprint's there right from the beginning, and it's not held in DNA and the classical mechanics that we all know and love. It's held in, once again, fucking resonance fields that we're only just understanding. Anyway, sorry, go on.
Fred? Oh, Fred? Can you hear us? Yeah.
Okay. Well, based on my understanding of, and just so you know, I don't want to go into detail, but I have a very intimate understanding of how life is formed because of my upbringing and in ecclesiastical Baptist upbringings, very conservative. So I was brought up in a Christian church where the pro-life movement was very, very prevalent. And I have a very intimate understanding of how life is formed, and a lot of the research done to try to prove and disprove what things happening when they're happening. And I do know they have done research with all sorts of different technology trying to detect when life is actually formed, when an egg and a sperm form a zygote. And I know for a fact that miraculously they have on with micro engineering, they have been able to detect weight gain during actual weight gain during the fertilization process with nothing added. They've also been able to detect weight loss when someone dies. So that makes sense to me. It's logical. One of my thoughts in this life is to try to determine what avenue to pursue to, just like 200 years ago, nobody knew what a microwave was. You couldn't detect a microwave. You would have been burned at the stake for talking about it. But now we know what microwaves are. You can see it on a screen. You can detect it on a monitor. We know how to monitor and create and detect microwaves. The same is going to be for such things as incarnation energies that we cannot see in our third density because of things. And I think starting with, our social memory complex, beginning with things like what we have right now with our phones and internet and computers, we're going to get training wheels for things like determining what in the hell is going on that's actually going on behind the scenes creating these things that are happening, that we know that are happening, we can detect they're happening, we see they're happening. How are they happening? Why are they happening? And I do believe very soon, possibly maybe within our lifetimes, we're going to see technology develop where we are able to see energies that we did not know to even look at before, including disincarnate energies. If there's anyone that has any medical or scientific background that understands what I'm talking about, please say something and speak up. Andre.
Okay, well, just very briefly, and then Michelle. So I know that it depends on the soul. That not all souls actually enter the fetus at the point of conception. Usually, more advanced souls will get there early, and then they will inhabit it at the point of conception. But so some of the younger souls, they may kind of like laze around in the soul world and then only come in like when it's a few months or like after it's born or something. Like it depends on the soul that way. But I have seen you might be interested. There's like a heart monitor, an electronic. The basis on like quantum stuff, and based on the electromagnetic field of the heart. And that I've also seen videos where using infrared imagery, they saw like the soul depart from a hospital patient, and then it just like floated up. Okay, Michelle Hogan, go ahead. We can't hear you.
Right, this way.
Okay.
Fred,
Now
you
we can hear
actually triggered a dream that I had some months back, in which I went into a house that was, I think, under the ownership of an aunt and uncle, and I was actually ghost hunting the house. When I went into this one room, while I was aware that there were spirits in the room, I actually pulled out this gadget that had a screen on it. Now, I know ghost hunters now have SLS, but this was not SLS. This was more like a clear heads-up display in a sense, because it was a clear screen, but on the screen, in one color or another, I could see the outline of where the spirit was standing. And
were you using an app or an actual instrument?
this was in a dream. I remember seeing.
Oh,
a
in
clear
a dream.
screen.
Okay, my bad.
Yeah.
All right, I was going to say,
haven't
like,
looked
there's
for
no
apps
such
because I
thing.
don't wanna burn
Trust
up
me.
batteries, but I mean, if I'm seeing this in a dream, it's obviously about to exist or does exist, and nobody's talking about it.
Why is that obvious?
Because of other dreams I've had where I've seen things that I didn't know already existed. I got to dipping in. Oh my God.
There we go.
It is.
I just wanted you to say that so everyone was
Yeah.
following.
Amanda?
Well, getting back to the egg, the DNA perhaps doesn't direct the eggs at conception, but what they found is at conception there's a spark. It's like an electricity spark, and that's when everything gets going. Now, whether that gains weight or could you say the soul, maybe that's the spark, and then going further with the cells in our body, we have cells that have absolutely no information. They're like a cell that can go to your heart, can go to anywhere in your body that you need it.
Like a universal plug.
It's a universe. And then once it gets to where it's needed, it takes on a muscle cell or a cardiac cell or whatever cell you need. So, yeah, I mean, and then what you were talking about was, if I'm correct, that they can manipulate the cells once conception is, okay. So with sound, is that sound can direct the cell to whichever it needs to go to form the human in the body. I know hormones are triggers.
Head knows.
Everything. Yeah. Everything gets triggered by hormones and whatever.
Okay. So this is before that, and what it actually comes down to, these minuscule electrochemical gradients.
Okay.
Right now, what they do is basically you'll get to a point where as each step divides, yeah, it gets to a point where it creates an like a resonance inside the entire structure. Yeah, now they've found that inside that resonance, you've got the topography of where the stem cells will organize in order to form the 3 layers that then form the embryo. Right. So that first bit that you were talking about, that spark, there's actually a huge influx of calcium. Right. And that's what is essentially marks the actual kind of the creating of the shell of the outside, the actual fertilization act. But it is a huge electrical spark. When you look at the change in ionic potential from the outside to the inside of the egg, when that happens, it's a flash of light. It's incredible. There's actually a type of calcium imaging you can do, and it literally looks like a burst of light. It's amazing. Anyway, back to things, technology. Yeah.
Oh,
Ra talks about
one question. I don't think she was finished.
So much.
No.
Sorry.
I kind of lost it.
Oh, now you're up.
Now you're good to go. It'll come to me. It'll come to me.
Can I just say, I'll find the papers, and I'll put them on the group.
I'm very interested.
Right,
it's very interesting.
I'll find a review paper. Anyone that knows their scientific background will be able to put it together. It's a review paper, so it's lots of work. Yeah, I'll just have to try and find it and put it. Can I just say?
You can say whatever you want.
It's an incredible subject, but this is real fringe science stuff. This is like,
yeah,
they're still working these things out in the medical world. Yeah. We know how things work. Yeah, but there's certain stuff that doesn't pan out. Like the genetics of, right, there's no sensor for a cell to know where it is inside that embryo. There's nothing for it to organize its specific place and know where all of the other cells are. Yeah, that essentially electrical gradient, that bioelectric field that runs through the entire thing, that works like a quantum effect, that it leaves it a template that everything organizes around. Yeah. That's there.
It's the water.
Like that's how the whole thing. Right? It's mind blowing that science is only just finding these tiny little intricacies that are basically proving the occult right all over the place. It's mind blowing. I love it.
Then I have what. Oh, are you going to talk about the cell thing?
Yeah, right. Okay, exactly. The microtubule radio waves thing, man. Right. That whole idea of just the what we are is the consciousness of just that vibration and all the instincts. Right. That right there opens up. That creates your whole body, a whole new you that's just made of quantum vibration, and that is you. And as close as we know, that's what consciousness is. That's just mind blowing. This is where science is going, where all of these things that, that Ra talks about flippantly, because he can't break the law of confusion, and he gives us a way of understanding it in our caveman waving a club in the air way, like now science is slowly putting the things together using science, and it's coming up with like, oh my God, how does this work without there being a God? Oh no, what do we do?
But Amanda, what you were saying about the stem cells, that's what you were talking about. They're
called pure point. They're called pure point cells, and they're just they hide
pluripotent stem cells. Pluripotent stem cells is more of an induced state that we do. Yeah, right. You get pluripotent stem cells in the bone marrow.
So
can essentially organize themselves into whatever cell you need. Yeah, but they are just your stem cells. Yeah, and part of the problem is that eventually, they get damaged and you can't replenish your cells as part of what aging is. But the actual kind of a pluripotency is a case of taking any normal cell and reducing it back to the point where it is a stem cell. Yeah, that's how things like regenerative medicine work. Right nowadays, you can actually take cells and you can convince them to become stem cells and then grow into any other type of cell. Like so one of the really good treatments they're looking at for diabetes is actually giving you a treatment that essentially retells your beta cells in your liver to start producing insulin. Yeah, and it basically just takes them back to a state where they change identity into a different type of cell and they cure the disease. Point is, genetics is really fun and great, but when you get really down into it, there's lots of stuff for how does this work. They're only just looking at the actual quantum effect of DNA. Yeah, the way that it actually forms a crystalline layer of water around it that affects with other energies. There's so much to it, it's mind-blowing. Yeah, but this is all stuff that we've only just developing the technology, and the physics is only just allowing us to actually explore the quantum effect in biology anyway. We've only just been able to start looking at this stuff. Anyway, why am I always talking?
Yeah, well, we've been
cover-
looking at it. We've been looking at it for a long time because my youngest son was born in 2012, and we didn't know this about the other three children. We known, we would have done it, but we were presented with an opportunity by this company called Cord Blood Registry in Phoenix, Arizona, and so when my youngest was born, they take the cord blood from the umbilical cord and they cryogenically freeze it. The reason being that is 100% blank embryonic stem cells, meaning that they are brand new from the very beginning of your creation, and they're all yours. And there's a lot of them. I saw how much blood they took out of the umbilical. I did not know that there was that much blood in the umbilical cord, but the way they froze that, and then have you know this, the moment that he was born, he was the only one of our kids that had a genetic defect like this, but his right eye was completely clouded over, and we noticed right away there was something wrong. He was born with Peters anomaly. It's a rare eye defect where your iris did not separate from your pupil, and he had it, and that cord blood that we cryogenically froze will one day be able to be grown in a petri dish and them grow him a brand new cornea for his eye. He has a donor cornea right now, and he went through an experimental surgery in 2013 at Cleveland Clinic for it was a partial keto. I can't remember what they call it, the word they named it, but he actually pioneered a surgical process because of what we allowed them to do to him. But he has 80% vision in that eye now. If he ever needs another eye cornea, that's what they're going to do. That's what they plan on doing. And they've been doing it for years. They started this company in 1998. So they've been doing cryogenic bioengineering on the market for consumers since 1998. So I can't imagine what they have going on now. But I go ahead.
They're cloning humans. They're cloning humans.
I don't even want to get into that conversation. My son's in the Marines.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And also, I just want to remind that all the spiritual causes of all diseases, all the causes of diseases are spiritual. And so while there is the technological stuff that often just applies to the symptom, and sure, sometimes it's great, but for definitely for chronic conditions and things, you've always got to look at the spiritual aspects behind it. And even for acute injuries, it's good to think about, why did I nick my finger or whatnot, like what is the lesson here, and then that could say prevent you from having a more grievous injury later.
But it doesn't heal you in that moment. You're not gonna be like, oh, why did I cut my finger? And finger cut, gone, don't need stitches now.
Yeah,
super glue, actually, super glue. That's I recommend highly.
Andre, I wanted to point something out that what you were saying about the not needing that. Yes, that's true, but I think that this clouds me too because of my mindset, but I have to constantly remind myself that there's a balancing act going on, meaning that if the negative polarization sees an opportunity to do something to polarize itself more negative, it's going to do that, whether it's through bioengineering or technology or doing something with resources in the earth. So then there's a balancing act where we as positive utilize that in a positive way to do good things to help people. And I think that's what we're seeing when we see positive things in the medical field where new technology is being used for something. You can almost guarantee that probably before then that was being used by the military industrial complex to kill people, and is probably being used for 15 years, and we just got to it now. So there's a balancing act going on, and no matter what you do, there's a balancing act going on, and nothing we can do about it. I would like to say that I didn't start this shit, but you know as well as I do, we all started it together.
For sure. Yeah. And I wasn't trying to judge technology.
No. I'm not saying you were trying to judge. I'm just saying that, that's kind of what I see. So yeah, when you see that, it's like, you're going to have that. That's because the other side's doing it the other way, and we got to balance. So it's good and it's bad. Because it's good because it helps people, but it's bad because it pulls them away from the actual spiritual reality of what can actually be done without that. It gives you a crutch.
Yeah, exactly. And I just wanted to kind of remind people that there is, God, the best doctor, or whatever you call it, and that even if someone like has a defect or whatnot, then I mean, sure, we can help people out of a place of compassion, and that's totally cool. But say we're in a position where we can't help. And in that case, we can love that person. Like I remember reading a Hatan story, and they were talking about a child that had been born with a birthmark like on their face that made them look very ugly. And then this child was once talking to its mother after having gone outside, and it was the child was saying that the leaf does not judge the other leaf for having a defect, and that and the squirrel does not judge the other squirrel or whatnot, and that they can love and be kind to one another, and that's really like the ultimate thing, and that sometimes that the reason that people are born with like some conditions like Down syndrome or whatever is to give an opportunity for others to be of service and to love and to be kind and those kinds of things. Mitch?
Just somewhat of a, not really contrary, but I guess supplemental point of view on this. It was mentioned in one of the sessions with Ra that, when you contact intelligent infinity and you break through that barrier, you are given a choice. You can either end this incarnation now and go on to the next level, or you can choose to stay here. And most people that break through choose to stay here. And, really got me thinking back when I had read that the whole nature of this veiled reality, we can have all the answers in front of us, but once we have all those final answers, the only reason to stay behind is to continue to do well for those around us. People aren't going to continue to stay here just once they've contacted intelligent infinity, once they've hit that point, just for their own benefit. It's just not what happens. So to me, that kind of suggests that there's a lot of fun, a lot of value in the illusion, even without necessarily the concepts that Law of One provides to us, right? You can have a very full existence and still stay that lukewarm, neutral individual and have a just fantastic experience here. So I say all that to say this, and I think this is where my point comes back to what you were saying, that yes, there's an underlying spiritual cause to everything we experience, but on the same token, if you have a headache, nobody's going to judge you for taking the ibuprofen or taking a hot bath or cold compress, whatever you choose. I think there's so much room for all of it, because that's part of the joy. We're not always going to understand the nature of that particular catalyst, and that's part of the joy of this, because if we always understood it, there would be no veil, there'd be no challenge, and it'd all be kind of just pointless,
And boring.
Yeah. That's actually reminds me, I had like a really bad headache yesterday, and in a way it was actually a blessing, because I had all of these plans, and then at the same time I wanted to that day, I think that the most important thing for me to accomplish that day was writing an email to the mayors and the council. I don't know if you guys saw, I sent it in the chat, because it's basically like a plan of how we can live a good and decent life in fourth density here in Gray County, and like how to organize the villages. And like whenever I was working on that email, I would not notice my headache. And then whenever I would go and like start doing something else, it would just come back and it would be like splitting me in the head. I was like, I need to go.
So
lay
the
down.
email was the headache.
Oh, well, it was that I wasn't working on the email that was causing the headache.
Yeah, but yeah. So the email, well, to me, I take that as the email's the headache because
No, it
you're
pushed
not
him into
doing
it.
it.
Well,
The
yeah,
avoidance of the
No,
email was headache.
yes, exactly.
That's what. I,
Yes, exactly.
thank you.
She's gonna stab one of us. I can see it.
Oh, does she live in New York?
Yes, I do.
Oh, okay. Oh,
Even better. You're not that far away. It's about 254 miles.
oh my God.
Not that she's
I'm
checked.
just kidding. I'm just kidding. That's how far Susanna is.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I want to say something. You know, with death and the soul leaves. My sister died in a car accident, and I don't know if I can't remember if we told a lot of people because it was like my mom was like traumatized, and it was just a really bad week. Anyways, I had gone home and I was sleeping, and I woke up and I knew she died. Then, that same day, my other sister got a call from the sister's friends that her friends, they didn't know that she had died. Well, we didn't tell them. They called and said, did Gloria die? And I'm like, my sister said yes. And they said, we didn't even know she was in the hospital. So do I think that there's weight loss? More than likely, yeah, I do. I've seen the documentaries on, you know, that they weigh the body prior to death, and there is a loss. There is a definite loss right away. So, you know, way back when I would have said no because of how I was brought up, but I was brought up in two different thoughts. So I kind of agree with that. I really do. And that was very personal. I mean, she contacted these people that she knew real well. I mean, maybe because I was sleeping, we were all up for days, you know, so I was probably just wiped out, and I woke up and I go, she died, you know, and I called my mom and she said she died. So yeah.
How significant of a weight loss?
Not like pounds, like I think
It's like 8
grams
ounces
or
or
just,
something, right?
yes.
I mean,
yes.
I'm just curious, but isn't it
Apparently,
possible? Like,
it's about
don't
21
people?
grams, so just under an ounce.
What does?
Yeah.
What does?
About 21 grams, so just
Yeah, it's
under an
just a
ounce.
very, very small, but significant, because I'm sure they've done it on a lot of people, you know, tested and did experiments.
Yeah, there was a whole range of experiments done where they had people actually on platforms as they
Right.
died. And essentially, they also measured things like gas release and other things that might have affected it. And essentially, there's no real unexplainable, but it doesn't matter how big it is. Apparently, it can be a little baby, or it can be like a huge overweight person. About the same amount of weight leaves at that point of death. They can't really explain it. So who's to say it isn't that? But
Yeah, but
like I
there's some
said, there's
people
lots of
whose
other
souls
evidence,
leave
you know,
before.
people. Yeah, of course, and this is the point. Like when you actually think about it, as what it is, you know, why should it have any weight?
Right.
Yeah, why should it have any weight? If it is just a quantum field that is produced or is linked to this chemical vessel, yeah, then when the vessel breaks, essentially the effect on you as a field,
The pressure release, yeah.
Why would you change any of the physical matter? It's a function of you. It's not. So what is there to release?
Well, I mean, just for the sake of
yeah.
conversation here, we're conflating mass with weight a little bit. I mean, we're measuring the change in weight. There's not necessarily a change in mass.
Exactly. No, but that's the whole point. Like the change in weight would give some kind of measurable a mass of weight. That's that, a mass is what causes an effect on space time that we measure as weight, right? So the mass leaving is what's going to change the overall weight. The point is, the soul shouldn't need to weigh anything. It's made of a vibrational energy that doesn't really affect matter in the way that we think it does. Anyway, sorry, Andre.
Oh, well, my understanding is made of bosons, so it's made of light. And so it's actually follows the second law of thermodynamics, which is that entropy is always increasing, or that information cannot be destroyed. And so since information cannot be destroyed, all of the information you've accumulated through your lifetime has to go somewhere after you have died. And so all of your accumulated knowledge is basically held in light. And then when this like ball of light,
baby.
that's what that gram difference is, to my understanding. And then that ball of light is kind of like your soul. Well, it rejoins your soul in the inner planes, and then like mixes it around in there, and then another part of it splits off for your next incarnation.
Yeah, you're all part of the oversoul, right? If you look at it without the outside of time, space, you're like, instead of space time, then the ego and our incarnation becomes a tiny little fragment of what is the oversoul, which is thousands and thousands and millions of incarnations. And our life is just a small polarizing event in the whole, as it were. I always think that's really humbling.
And
I don't know about anyone else.
Along that line, yes, I agree with that. It's the way I'm picturing it is the soul to experience the human experience is like sacrificing its time-spacedness to become space-timedness, which gives it mass, because it's trapped in the confinements of the speed of light, E equals mc squared. So the soul is being confined within that framework of what light controls, which is everything that has mass. So when the soul is being released from the human form, it can then get rid of that confinement and return back to itself.
Well, that's a great analogy, Robert.
Oh, totally. And that kind of links in with that links in with what Andre was saying about bosons, right? Because bosons, really, when you look at them as a fundamental particle, what they do is they give like a balancing force in between the weak and strong electrical forces that allow kind of matter as we know it to exist. So when you think about bosons being these subatomic particles that don't really exist as matter, they exist as a intrinsic part of how matter works. That right there is the light. That's the energy. That's the vibration that changes the wavelengths of the strong and weak electric force into what we perceive as matter. As quarks, as mass. Anyway, sorry, dude, go on.
I just wanted to kind of riff on what Robert was saying, and because that actually is very accurate to the NDE and kind of past life regressions of people after they have died, is that they feel like a release of the constriction, like so they felt constricted and confined to the body, and then once they are released from the body, they feel a release from that body. And so it's just like Robert was saying, it's like they've been released from being held in space-time, and now they're kind of released into time-space or whatever. And so they can be more free.
Has anyone had any kind of astral projection experiences? Because that's an incredibly similar thing, when you kind of
Trevor does a lot of that, but he's not active right now.
That's what I was going to say.
Amanda does it out.
I just do it all the time.
We changed the time for him.
Yeah. Can I also just say, speaking of Trevor, the other week, Trevor mentioned these little tensoring things. Do you remember him mentioning those? So I did a bit of research, and these things are actually quite incredible, and it kind of ties in with what why has he left? What? Just singing his praises and everything.
So what do they do?
I'm trying to like,
It's the thing.
What's up?
Go ahead, Ed.
Anyway, the point is, I hadn't really heard of them, but for me, remember what Fred was saying about how that technology is going to be that. See, they've got. I can't believe how these things work. It's actually mind blowing. Yeah, right.
Oh, I know.
I hadn't come in contact with them before, but I love crystals and all these other things. And like honestly, these pyramids, like Ra talks about, right? These are tools for understanding spiritual energies and learning to control them. Yeah, in a very real way, you can feel with your senses. And like I was amazed at how these little blooming wide bits of like copper in a spiral, right, do the same thing. Like you can, they're physical fields that you can feel, that you can feel interact with one another. Yeah, like that aren't based in the physics that we know. Yeah, and that they interact in ways that the nervous system that we understand picks up. That it isn't supposed to do this. What is it that we're feeling? How does this work?
I don't care. I'm just glad it does.
Yeah, we don't know. It just works.
Science and technology are going to come from these things that Ra talks about, like the geometry and the shape, the resonance of objects, of things being powerful spiritual tools that we just don't understand yet. Yeah, and like these are pieces of technology, as it were. And like what Fred was saying, like the silly little things like this little ring that I've spent about 3 or 4 hours just staring through them. Yeah, how the hell does a little, like, how does this create bloody lenses? This is not what the hell's going on? What the hell's going on? Physics is warping in front of my eyes. What?
Hell, I don't know. It just works. It's interesting. I just know if it works, it works.
Yeah. Oh well, there's the pinhole camera effect. So if you have a pinhole, then you can see better. Like I used to wear those pinhole glasses. They got lots of little pinholes instead of wearing regular glasses.
Like pixelating the world.
Did you ever see the Eskimos, where they archaeologists found the Eskimo glasses that the Eskimos used to wear when you're in the Arctic and it's all snow and it's all white and it's all reflecting and you're in the sun? They actually had what I think it was whale bone that they made they made glasses that had tiny little holes in them, and then they were able to actually see.
Yeah, in North America,
that's the only reason that blue eyes evolved. You know that, right?
What was that? The blue eyes? What? I kind of missed it.
Well, the only reason that blue eyes evolved is because of that exact thing. The sunlight bouncing off of snow and beaming into your eyes. That's why, following up the ice age up the planet is what essentially led to, white skin, because essentially we needed to absorb the different frequencies of light, leading to us losing the melanin or whatever. Yeah. And then our eyes, essentially they had to adjust to the different frequency of light bouncing off the snow, which led to blue eyes being the favorable mutation. Anyway, sorry, I digress.
At least with the blue eyes, was that it was an adaptation for darkness, because there's more darkness in temperate latitudes and like high latitudes.
Well, it's actually kind of both.
There's loads of different ways of looking at it, but the only other place that's developed blue eyes naturally is somewhere that where the whole civilization lived out on boats. Yeah, so they evolved with the water bouncing off of the seawater onto their eyes, which is the closest thing to snow, and they developed blue eyes too. So there's conflicting theories of it, but they think that it was a large adaptation that happened because we chased the ice age up the planet, and it was just an adaptation that made the eyes work better under those snow blind conditions. Anyway, I keep talking nonsense. Just tell me to shut up and talk about something that's interesting. Can we talk about tarot archetypes, please?
Oh,
Like,
okay. Well, Fred, what were you
I'm
gonna say?
joking. I'm joking.
Yeah, maybe we should get back on the topic.
Okay, well, it's already
Oh, it's
4
already
minutes left. Get to work.
Oh,
Hey, look, you've given me an extra like 2 hours. Like, this is early night for me. I wasn't expecting to start till 1. You guys started at 11. This is like wicked. Yay!
all right.
what
So
happened.
Fred-
Everything just went away.
Fred, did you want to finish saying what you want to say, and then Robert can do the outro, or if anyone else wanted to say something before we wrap this
I've
up?
got loads of stuff I want to say. If anyone just wants to stay on and chat with me,
I mean, someone who
for
hasn't
like
already
next 3
spoken.
hours, I'm here.
Why? He can talk if he wants. Everybody can talk. Let's
Okay,
all talk.
All right. All right. well,
yeah.
I did have something to say though. When I sit in my pyramid, or if I use this thing, like you do feel it in my pyramid, I can see I can literally, it's like I have walls around me if I'm inside it. Like I could see them. You can see the movement, the everything. So I don't know about all the I don't have floaties in my eyes either. Like I've literally always seen things, the air is tangible, stuff like that. But like I can literally see it like forming around me. My plants I put inside that pyramid, let me tell you something. All those boys, they were dead because I don't have a green thumb. But I put them inside my pyramid, they flourish. They're huge. So there's definitely something to that. Oh, and then this thing, I got this at Alien Con, which you want to talk about weekend of synchronicities and like signs everywhere, signs, they were all around me and they were calling to me. They were made for me. And I just happened to walk up to this one thing and I just picked this up and I just kind of like, I like put it right here, like I owned it. I'm just like, I'm going to steal the damn thing. But yeah, even just, I love it. I love it. And then I like to wear like a princess. You know what I'm saying?
That's
It's
what I
very
thought when I
pretty.
first saw you in it. I was like,
I
oh,
love
here
it.
comes Queen.
You know, I like to act. Makes me feel good. I'm queen in my own place. No, I'm just kidding. And then this is the same thing with these little ones. So
Have you tried?
don't knock
looking
it till
through
you
them?
try it.
Have you looked through them? Have you just literally held them up and tried using them like lenses?
It looks like what the
This is what I mean. It looks like there is a layer.
no, you can yes. Yes,
Okay,
there
what are you
does.
seeing?
There's like a fucking
Something you're
bubble
not.
over it. Like, you know when you blow
No,
bubbles or
okay, when,
something?
yes. I was just gonna say
It's
that when you
mad,
blow
right?
bubbles, it looks, I swear to God.
Yeah.
Me and Ed did not get together earlier and
How
decide
does
we were
that
gonna
work?
say this. It looks like when the bubbles go in the hole and you hold it up and the shininess of the soap, obviously, right? That's what the hell it looks like right now in there. That's nuts.
Interesting.
I didn't even, and you
Can
were
I
doing it
make
the
an
whole time. And I
observation?
didn't even,
How does that work?
Yes.
Well, is that copper? That's copper, right?
Yeah, it's
Mhm.
just a copper
So
wire. But
doesn't
the
copper
point
bring
is you have to get
energy
it to
and
the right
energy
length.
can go through light and
Well, you have
create
to get it to the right
color?
length. So it all comes down. It all comes down to the Egyptian cubit. Yeah, so that was like a standard measurement across the planet. Like the Vikings had a version, the Egyptians had a version. It was like this standard measurement. Yeah, that it's all pretty close, within a little bit that measured from like there to there, around the whole planet. Like the Aztecs used it. It was all over the place. Yeah. And it works out that if you cut the copper to that length, then it produces this resonance field. So it's like,
do not leave
that's
without
why they
me.
were using those specific lengths, because they actually resonate at the same frequency as light, as specific elements of energies that we, like I said, spiritual energies that we can't measure yet, but we can actually interact with these stupid little rings. It just creates, that's it, right?
So can I make I want to make an
Robert's
Go
literally
ahead,
just
Fred.
marking out all of the different sacred geometric measurements. Like, if you were to cut copper to that length, yeah, and then twist it, it'll make one of these. And it's really weird. Just the lengths of the cubits seem to make the rings that work. And you have to do like logarithmic math of the cubit in their like math in order to get different lengths, to get different vibe, like free. Mate, it's stupid the amount, the level of science people go into this with this stuff. But the coolest thing I saw is, yeah, somebody put one of these, yeah, it wasn't one of these. It was like what they call a plasma coil, which is like just a circular tube with tubes in it, right? And they put it inside a glass of water, and then they froze it. Yeah, now because of the way that it affects the water, you can see the actual tensor field in the frozen water, right? So
interesting.
It's like,
what did I miss?
Can't deny it.
You're
Just
talking
by-
about
just by
water, and
putting
it's my
one of
favorite
these
thing in the world.
Frozen water. You can watch the torus field freeze around it, and
Water
it's
is
not
amazing.
measurable. It's literally harmonic vibration of the quantum resonance of it going round in this loop pattern. That's it. How the hell can we interact with that?
Because
Other than we've got systems in our body we don't know how to use.
with the ring, that symbolizes perfect unity, the one, because it's endless.
Yeah.
It's one, it's finite and infinite at the same time.
Oh, we went down to photos. And
Right.
he was pissed at me at the Roman.
Big fan anyway.
I'd like to make an observation.
Yeah, of course. Love you guys.
From what I understand, when you have, okay, I don't know if anybody that's ever seen a photograph or a video of something that would be described as maybe paranormal. I don't know, but I've taken a couple of them. So, what
only every
happens
other
is-
day? No.
Yeah. Well, I can every single day in my house. If you go to a certain place, you can. Depending on who's there will determine what you see. What happens is cameras are certain frames per second. In other words, they're a frequency. That shutter opens at a certain frequency. You can change that frequency on a manual like SLR camera that's 35 millimeter. You can adjust that frequency. So everything operates on frequency, including things that are imprinted on our environment. So when you can change the frequency by, I don't know if you've ever seen where people play with neodymium magnets and copper, but you can levitate things with copper. You can make strange things happen with copper and aluminum when you mix them together certain ways, certain temperatures. You're changing frequencies of our material environment. So copper has a unique way of changing frequencies of the environment. That's why we use it in circuits for our wiring, for all the lights and for all the electrical shit we're doing right now. So what I'm saying is, I think the copper is changing the frequencies of its environment and allowing us to see something that we weren't able to see before, just like a shutter on a camera running at maybe 63 and 8/10 of a frames per second instead of 64 frames per second, showing us something that we didn't see before, just because we're only picking up on that specific frequency and you're able to manipulate it. And each person's able to do it differently because we manipulate our environment differently with our frequency. Does that make any sense?
Have you ever seen aura photos?
The what?
Have you ever seen an aura photo?
Well, a photo maybe not, but I
Okay,
saw
so
it
what
with
it's basically you have to hold on to two different silver electrodes, yeah, and essentially it passes a kind of vibration, an energy between the two silver, and it creates this field that means that you can use a silver lens, yeah, on the camera, and it basically converts the energy that your body creates into color that a camera can pick up, right? So you need the certain bits of things to get it right. But with doing it, yeah, that's it. Andre got the name. Yeah, but by doing it, you can take quite detailed photos of the aura, of the energy that you produce. And not only that, but it comes down to the same kind of colors that Ra talks about. You can see orange ray. You can see like people that are kind of higher level thinking having the indigo ray active. Yeah. So, and you can see all these. If you look at a Buddhist monk, yeah, having one of those things, it looks like a fucking rainbow coming out of it. It's incredible. Yeah, because everything lines up perfectly. Yeah. So taking a photo of these energies is possible. Yeah. But, you know, once again, like you said, it's matching up the frequencies so that we can take a photo of it and then, you know, interpret it afterwards.
That's why
anyway, yeah,
you ever see the people, the guys called the slow-mo guys, they actually took video of a photon coming from the sun. It's what they described, I guess, is the only photos of an actual light beam photon that had what they describe as zero mass, but you know I don't know. They actually photographed it because they used such a high speed camera. I mean, it's hundreds or millions of frames per second. It's nanoseconds divided up into frames. So when you're that high speed, the only thing that you could do different was instead of that time taking photographs of light, maybe you're taking photographs of another frequency like radio waves, or you're taking a photo of something like microwaves and do it at that high speed, which we have cameras that do that, but I don't have access to those types of photographs.
Dude, it comes down to resolution. It comes down to resolution. Now, a camera, in whatever way it works, is only ever going to be able to take in a photon of light as one quanta of light at a specific frequency. Yeah, that's how, like, you can't bounce light off of a photon to see a photon, if that makes sense.
Right.
Yeah. So the only resolution we're ever going to be able to see, but inside a photon, if you look into things, you probably got some specific E8 quantum like structure inside that we're never going to be able to see, because the wavelength of light is as far as our resolution of a camera would ever go. But there might be a whole other layer underneath that is how everything works. So we would never be able to see, no matter how good our tech gets, if it's based on photons. And, like, you know, who's to say there isn't whole other types of photon we don't know? What the hell is dark matter anyway?
God, me. It's just there.
I
have a question.
Silence.
Desiree. What?
I have a question. What do you want, Amanda?
Wait,
I do think, though, just to remind real quick, though, too, Fred, I think you had one for me earlier, but go ahead, Amanda.
Oh, well, you can take
No, Amanda.
Questions. Oh,
no,
okay,
I want you to go, but I'm just reminding you.
So when people, I know there's a lot of people that don't see spirits or ghosts or whatever you call them. So when people do see them, are they at their frequency, the spirit or the ghost or the person that doesn't want to?
Would you like to hear my kind of put together understanding of it from multiple angles? Yeah, what was
I saw a full see-through old man walking in a living room.
Yeah, so you were acting really old like him, so that's why you saw him.
No, I mean, I was asking.
Go ahead, Ed.
No, I was being a good girl sleeping on the couch.
Go ahead, Ed. I want to hear your perspective on that.
Okay, so if you think about us as this layered energy, multi-dimensional thing, yeah, and every energy that we have internally and how that works is expressed externally in our aura. Right now, like Rod talks about how aura is like a protective shield. You know, that's why when you do acid, it punches holes in it and the infinite intelligence floods in and people fuck up when they're tripping. Right? You know, it's a protective shield. It protects us. Yeah. Now, like, if you think about when you interact with other entities in whatever way, channeling, clairvoyance, or whatever, yeah, they don't exist in a body like us. They're consciousness. Most of the time, they're described as orbs, as essentially mini macabre light bodies that contain consciousness in this little quantum geometric pattern. Yeah. Now, really, when you think about kind of your aura being this protective layer, yeah, most people who clairvoyant essentially are able to interact with their light body, their aura, their energetic field, interact with these other light bodies, and then there can be information transmission between the two fields. Yeah, now if you just think about it like that, take out the biology and just think of us as two energy fields interacting and exchanging information. Yeah, now if you then want to convert that into how the body experiences it, think about it like quantum biology. Yeah, you might have whole sets of receptors inside your brain that are there to pick up this energy, to read this information exchange between you and these orbs of whatever. Now, when you read that information, you take it in, your brain converts it the same way it does with eyesight or whatever else into something that you perceive in front of you, in whichever way you talk about it. Yeah, right. So essentially, when you perceive these things with your senses, in your third eye, in your visualization, of however you do, it's you and this energy, it's whatever entity it is, interacting via these fields, the same way that atoms do. When you have, like the two energy fields interact, and you have a positive and a negative polar force interchanging energy and information. Like everything, you scale it down, you scale it up, like synchronicities and correspondence. These things, as above, so below, right? The same systems occur all the way up. And if you stop thinking about us as the meat suit being important, and you just think of us as this collection of energies that has an incredible effect in, like manipulating the crystal, like we were talking about earlier, creating the reality by experiencing the third density incarnation. But really all we are is just this energy thing. When you're talking about Ra, he's like a whole fucking, he's like a mass complex of millions and millions of different atoms like us and energies like us interacting in a big and when you're talking about like a fourth density entity, they're no different from whether they're an alien from any race anywhere on the planet, because really all we are is these auric prana flow energy fields finding ways to manifest and experience. And that doesn't matter how that manifests, whether it's like Ra and you have a much lighter density and you don't have as much of a physical body and you're more of consciousness, or whether you're like us and realistically you have to be heavily convinced that there's something else. But it doesn't matter, all of us are still the same energy field underneath. Anyway, sorry, I'm just
perfectly said. Perfectly said. And
sorry,
your
guys.
voice literally soothed the shit out of me. Mitch fell asleep.
I'm sorry, dude. I'm sorry, Mitch.
No, it was. Guys, tell me. No, you're not. Tell me that was not super soothing the way that he just talked, and you explained it beautifully.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I couldn't have even came close to even going where you went, and I think what he said, Amanda. Yes. Fred, real quick, and then we're gonna head on out of here. So Mitch can get his beauty rest.
Don't go. I love you guys. I'm just gonna sit here and talk this
I
mad
love you
crap
guys
to
too.
myself.
Hey, just so you know, today's St. Patrick's Day, right? Everybody,
Yeah.
green love.
You're all there, green love.
So
There's a pill for that.
what Ed was saying about the energy imprinting, this has been my experience. This is food for thought. I'm not saying that I'm an expert on this or anything, but this is my experience. My home is 198 years old. It will be 200 years old in 2024.
Wow.
Some of the things that I read in the Raw Contact, especially when they were questioning about the bell-shaped structure that Ra supposedly brought down that was photographed in the early 1900s, and describing what it was, why it was there, and how they did it. It was an imprint put on the environment by the people who wanted to see it. They were incarnated here. They wanted to see it, and they wanted it to be recorded, and they made the shape aesthetically pleasing for the people who were receiving the vision of seeing it. So knowing that, and then going and knowing that when we are existing, our auras or our energy, whatever you want to call it, is constantly emitting energy, constantly placing frequency on our environment. And the walls that you see behind me have been since 1824, starting with being shot at by Indians and shooting back. And the first family living in my house had 15 children. 13 of them died in this house before adulthood. And that happening multiple times, with the sadness projected on these walls, with the happiness of people getting married, happiness of childbirth, and all these different things, these emotions and strong projections of frequency. When there's a congruent frequency, in my experience, this is just me, in my experience, when there's a congruent frequency, things line up for you to be able to more easily have a wider parameter, so to say, on your camera for that frequency to be captured, whether it by your eyes or by a camera or by hearing something with your ears or feeling something or whatever. You're able to, when there's an emotional charge somewhere, you're going to reciprocate that somehow if you are in an emotionally impacted environment that has received a lot of energy like
Okay,
that.
first, right, dude, can I jump in, right? Have you ever heard of the Japanese idea of ghosts?
No.
So
I'm
they have
not even
this
going to
idea-
entertain them. They believe in everything and ooh, what's this?
Well,
Pink
they've got
edges.
this really cool idea that the way like a haunted house works is that the house itself has an identity. It has its own living thing, yeah, that you're living in. Yeah. Now, when something happens negative, right, the negative thing itself gets trapped in the walls. Yeah. So whatever it's the energy that was created in that time makes the walls vibrate at the specific frequencies and energies that then you perceive years later as that held trauma. Yeah. Now, all of those energies, those frequencies aren't, they're not damaging, they're just trapped. And you have all of these things. There's lots and lots of ways of being able to cleanse and release those things. It doesn't necessarily. And can I just say, when you're talking about finding ways of viewing it in your circumstances, I would literally be meditating like fuck to open up my third eye as much as possible, because you can have whatever other thing you want to do. The best way of interacting with these things is actually opening yourself up to communicate with them. Yeah, to give them love, to rebalance all of that negatively polarized energy that's trapped in the walls, dude.
I mean, why is it gotta be negative?
What's happened? It's kind of led me to this understanding. See, during my marriage and the whole time we were married, my ex and I, especially towards the last 5-6 years of our marriage, we fought violently. I got used as a punching bag on a regular basis. And all during that time, my house went fucking apeshit. We had things flying across the room. We had you
that was you too.
Set your clock to shit going wrong. People banging on the floors in the basement, people screaming bloody murder like you're being killed in the middle of the night for no reason. And as soon as I got my divorce, when my wife left this house and I did a banish, I guess you would call it, I didn't know that's what it was at the time, but it was a banishing ceremony. Guess what? Shit stopped. And the only time that I have a problem or anything come to mind of I'm hearing noises, I'm hearing this and that, and shit's going wrong, is when somebody comes around that's really not supposed to be here.
Oh, I'm coming and investigate your house. Anyways. It's, oh God, we're 20 minutes over, guys.
Yeah.
Oh, y'all look so sad.
Oh my
I mean, when we leave, you guys want to keep talking, go right ahead. I just won't be here right for a minute. I got a few things to do,
Yay.
but I'll keep it up for you if you want. All right, I got you, Ed. I'll make you the host.
Oh, yeah.
So I
All
can
right.
go for a
Yeah,
little bit
'cause
and
I
then
want to spend some time with my wife. Okay.
Oh,
I hear that.
I love you.
I don't have one of them.
Can I say love
So-
and light, everyone? You're all amazing.
We love you,
Robert.
Put up with
Andre.
me.
Happy
Robert.
Green Heart Day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everyone send Robert love, all the love you can, because he needs it.
Love
Always.
Robert.
Love you, Robert.
But
We
what?
can't
You don't
hear
need a
you.
little extra love? I want to give it to you.
I'm
He's ready to fight
funneling it
me.
in, funneling it in.
Oh,
ready
you're
to
funneling
fight?
it in. Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, Robert,
Did you have-
earlier when you were holding your dog, that look on his face was, this is the life.
It is.
He's living the dream. He sure is. Except this winter, he can't enjoy himself as much.
That's true for most of us in winter.
Well, we had such a massive amount of wind yesterday, all of the pathways.
Probably blow him
in the
away.
backyard, they got covered up with snow, so he had nowhere to go pee and poop.
Same thing with Max. It was like the snow was over his legs. So you're just like stuck there. Oh, poor thing.
I feel bad for you guys. I'm enjoying it in Florida.
You know what? Fuck you.
I like winter.
I love
I don't know.
Becca.
It was a bit
We
chilly
got two
last night.
people in
Next door with the
Tasmania.
60.
There's no bugs.
You know, when you talk about water, you're talking about like the toroidal fields that you can capture in ice, all those things about the smart memory, the intelligence of water when it's freezing. We up here in snow country have frozen water all around us that is capturing all sorts of energies and emotions and thoughts, and it's just laying here surrounding us. It's on my roof, it's in 4-foot snowbanks all around the house. I'm surrounded by all this crystallized energy. It's awesome. It's beautiful.
Crystallized.
I'll be sure to send all you guys my episode on it so you can listen to it. You're killing me, Smalls. I'm over here like, just want to talk about it. All right. Did you want to close this out, Robert, with something beautiful?
Yes, okay.
You-
Thank you.
Thank you.
Beautiful. All right. Thank you, Creator, for all of these wonderful experiences we have together as a group every week now. Pretty much the same people have been showing up. We're becoming more coherent, more crystallized. May our higher selves, all of our spiritual guides and friends and family and anyone else that's interested in us in our positive growth and service to others, aid us as we go forward into the future, and may we be growing in love and light and be able to bring it to greater brilliance on this planet. And that is all. Thank you very much. I love you.
Thank you. Love you. That's beautiful.
Love and light,
Thank
dude.
you all.
I will leave you
All right.
in the love and in the light of the one infinite
The one
creator.
infinite creator.
Go forth, therefore, rejoicing in the power and in the peace of the one infinite creator.
Donate.
Good night, everybody.
Have a great night,
Good
everybody.
night.
Everyone,
Good night.
is anyone
Bye,
gonna stay
Ron.
on the call or is everyone
I'm
going to
going to
bed?
stay here. I intend to be the last person leaving. You know, I got 2 hours extra, so I'm like, woohoo! Let's
Are you guys
go.
gonna stay on? Fred, are you staying on with Ed?
Yeah, I will stay on.
I had
you
some
don't
stuff I
if
have
you
to
don't want
do.
to. Like, I will
Is
go to bed if you
Desiree
guys
and
are
Robert
tired and
staying
stuff.
on?
No one's forcing you. Like,
No,
oh,
I
poor
want to,
Ed,
but
he's got no friends.
I
We'll
got
stay.
human life stuff I gotta get done before I can come back on.
Well, we might be here. Try it.
Okay.
What,
All right,
Desiree, are you staying on?
I think she's.
I think she said
put
she already
up a photo. I think she's gone.
It may make sense to launch a Discord that, you know, we can just log into whenever that's constantly open. It'd be kind of
Yeah.
cool.
I'm up for that, dude. I got no idea how to do all that stuff, man. Send me a link, otherwise I got no clue.
Yeah, I
Bullshit.
don't know either.
You're telling me you can't figure it out, then we're all screwed.
Yeah,
Dude, I'm
right?
dyslexic, man. Like I deal with like concepts, not
You
details.
have a quantum computer in the brain. I wish I had that
Yeah,
much.
exactly. And massive ADHD. What am I gonna do?
I'm ADD. I get it. But I'm not ADHD. I'm ADD.
Hey, that's an
And
excuse,
it's
and I don't like to use excuses.
No.
You know.
But you got a massive computer in there, man.
Hey, look. If I
great.
wasn't so heavily dyslexic that I can't do any symbols whatsoever, I'd probably be some kind of quantum physicist. But
you would
alas,
be- well-
I had to settle for being like, you know, a neuroscience and fucking pharmacologist and geneticist. Oh no!
Just
like,
had
that
to
is far more
settle.
complicated anyway. What have I done?
If I had that fucking mind that you have, I'd be going scientist, man. Chemistry.
What's really weird is,
science,
you know,
mixing.
I went to science all the way as far as I could.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, as far as science knows.
Right.
And you know what I was faced with? We don't really know fuck all. As an actual philosophical tool to actually describe the universe, science hasn't really got very far.
No.
And we act like we know it all. But until you actually really look at the actual real crux of it, we don't know anywhere near as much as we think we do.
I take it a step worse than that, man. I mean, most science, particularly quantum physics, outright rejects most philosophical concepts, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But the strange thing
well,
is,
okay,
that
but you say this,
philosophical
but this,
concepts
but
were
when
like
you start
magical.
getting into,
I'm going to come back to this.
anyway, right. What I mean is, what I'm saying is, that all of these things should match up. Yeah. Sorry, man. Sorry. Oh,
No.
I'm
I just have
all
some
confused
stuff I
by
have
this
to.
too.
I have to do. I have to do some stuff.
Okay. So, Mitch, like, with like, you know, what with the quantum thing, I find that like all of that stuff we don't really know. There's still so much gaps in it.
Yes, 100%. The scientists back, you know, when they were writing the Copenhagen interpretation and all that good stuff, it was guys refusing to accept the bigger picture and sticking their fingers in their ears and screaming la 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 la. That's you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And even back then, when these interpretations were written, there were rock stars back then saying no, this is bullshit. You guys are leaving out such important parts. And they even had formulas that kind of showed it was all bullshit. And they said, well, no, that's not what the mainstream says. Fuck you guys, get out of here. And so much time has been wasted because of that mentality.
Exactly.
It's insane.
It is. Have you heard the Voices of Venus? Have you read that book?
No, I haven't.
I'd highly recommend it. It's on the Reality Revolution podcast. It's beautiful. It's Law of One, exact, spot on, but it's a different channel source. It's a guy astral projects to Venus and interacts with the fourth density entities that live there. It's incredible. Anyway, in that he talks about sorry, I got distracted about this is a dog, it's too cute. What were we just saying? Please, somebody remind me.
Watch out, girl. Watch out.
What I wanted to say was,
Oh,
Okay.
okay. Wait a second. No, I remember. Sorry, I remember. Okay. He said in it that the thing we've got wrong, yeah, that we're only really starting to catch up with now, is the harmonics. Yeah, is the sound
Gotta go outside.
and the actual, like, the resonant harmonic elements of matter. Yeah. Now, all of these other principles that we've got have left out, like, important parts that, when you start looking at it, are just as important. Anyway, so I agree. There's so many other ways of interpreting the quantum thing that we're still paddling about. And then when you start looking at the occult thing seriously from a scientific point of view, rather than as you know, using that as the literature to base the future of science in a spiritual sense on. Yeah, trying to relate it back to things like quantum biology, and you know how we're only just starting to understand the resonance along certain proteins that can then interact with things that we didn't really realize the body could even do. Like, what does this open up for? What the is the human body is possible to do? You know, and we're only just, like I said, the main problem is we haven't got the physics in place to explore the biology properly. You know,
Dude, just
but
like
that's
you
why the
need new
spiritual seek
detection
becomes so much
methods
more
to be able
important.
to study things that are real.
Yeah, but this is it, right? This stuff is real, but we've ignored that those avenues of research because of the fact they're not mainstream, because they don't fit this specific narrative. Getting rid of the ether, I think, is like one of the things that changed the world of physics completely. They did that set of experiments. I can't remember the guy's name, but they disproved the existence of ether.
What was the name of that book you didn't say the name of it?
The Voices of Venus. The Voices of Venus.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's like I said, the Reality Revolution podcast. The guy that reads the audiobook is wicked. But yeah, the resonance thing. You know, it's and it's so much what Ra talks about. You know, everything comes down to these vibratory complexes of everything, and also it comes down to geometries, everything, and the correspondences. Everything should match up. Whatever layer you look at it, it should be a fractal of